YouTube? It's Fallon, and I have tried to record this video 4 times today, and every time something has come up. But we're here, we're doing it. It's been a while. Life is hard, this pregnancy's been hard, but we're getting through. Anyways, this video is gonna be about my ER visit, which thankfully didn't really have to do with the baby. It was kind of something else, but it was also very concerning for the baby, so it was scary. I was holding my breath there for a little bit. But anyways, before we get into it, actually, I just wanted to tell y'all something really exciting. My sister's new song is coming out, Amber Eyes by Teal. And you can pre-order it now. It's available on Apple Music on Valentine's Day. It's so exciting. I'm so happy for her and so proud of her. So yeah, go check it out. Anyways, hop into the video with me. So basically, I have been sick, not like pregnancy sick, well, I've been that too, but like cold and flu sick since November. And so has my poor daughter too. And in January, the second week of January, that weekend, we were going to visit my grandparents. And that's about a 4-hour drive. We were finally all feeling better, thought we were on the mend. And then we drove down there Friday night, or maybe it was Saturday morning, I can't remember now, to be honest. And you know, it's a long drive, but it's not a long drive. So we didn't like get up or stop or anything. And we get there, and a little bit after being there, Revy starts throwing up. I'm gonna turn the heater off really quick. Anyways, Revy starts throwing up and had a fever. And I took my temperature and I had a fever, and then I started feeling very sick. And poor Revy has never thrown up before, so she was terrified. She did not understand what was going on, and I felt so bad for her. Oh my goodness, I just felt so bad. Anyways, so that night, I finally got Revy to sleep, and I go to lay down myself, and I could not get comfortable, and I ended up having to sleep on the couch because I felt so sick, and I was just having this pain, and I couldn't get comfortable, and it was a pain in my chest. So then I get through the night, didn't get much rest. The next day, it's same thing. And then Sunday night, we made the trek back home sick, which was fun. And then I called out Monday from work because I was still throwing up and everything. And I still had this pain, but it wasn't like, you know when you have different symptoms and it's like, this is what's bothering me the most right now. Like at that moment, it was throwing up. I couldn't keep anything down, and I just felt so sick. So it's like, even though I had this pain, it just wasn't like my priority. And then Tuesday, same thing. Wednesday, I'd stopped throwing up from being sick. I was still throwing up from being pregnant. That's a whole other thing. But I'd stopped throwing up from being sick. And so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go into work. And I'm driving to work, and I know this sounds so dramatic, but it's reality of what I was feeling. Basically, you know, I've had people around me have heart attacks, and I know how serious heart conditions can be, blood clots can be, and I'm driving to work, and I just had this sharp pain that was not going away in my chest, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. It was absolutely terrible, and it was radiating up into my left shoulder. And I pulled over because like I couldn't even concentrate on driving at that point. And I just thought, I'm having a heart attack. Like I legitimately thought that, which I know, like I said, I know that sounds so dramatic, but you know when like you're panicking a little, and so you think of the worst case scenario. So I call my husband because I was like, I need to go into urgent care and I need you to get Revy. So we do that, and he drops me off at urgent care, and I they, took my blood pressure, checked my heart, all of that, and they were like, call your husband back. We want him to take you to the hospital. We don't want you to be alone. Because I was going to take a taxi, and they were like, no, we want your husband there. They were like, you need to go to the ER right now. So I was like, okay. So I went into the ER, and they, ran their first tests. And she came in, and she was like, all right. The ER doctor, who was so amazing, by the way. She was such an amazing doctor. Because I can imagine how ridiculous I must have seemed. But anyways, she was like, so basically we've got, 3 things that this could be. One, which is most likely, is a blood clot. She was like, or least likely is a heart attack. And she was like, and in between there is pleurisy. And she goes, in order to diagnose you, we have to rule out the most likely blood clot or the least likely heart attack if it is pleurisy. And I'm like, okay. So she goes, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a blood test to see if you're likely to have a blood clot. And so I think is what it is. So they do the blood test, and it came back that I was positive for being likely to have a blood clot, if that makes sense. It's not positive that you have a blood clot, it's just positive in the possibility that you have a blood clot. It's a higher chance of having a blood clot, basically. And so with the fact that that came back positive, that blood test, that I was pregnant, which increases your risk of a blood clot, that I had just been in the car for 2 4-hour drives, so 8 hours without getting up or anything, and the fact that my dad had a blood clot and passed away from a heart attack made me very, very high risk for a blood clot. And so she said to me that she wanted to do a CAT scan. Now, mind you, I'm pregnant, and anytime you have something like that, it's very scary, because when you get a CAT scan, your baby's getting a CAT scan, and it's just a really scary thing. And she talked with me forever about it. I had so many questions for her. I'm sure I annoyed her so much. And then I told her that I wanted to talk to my OB and just get a second opinion, because I felt like I didn't want to just rush and get this CAT scan. And so she called up my OB, we talked to her, and she agreed that it was very highly likely for a blood clot, and that, if I walked out of this hospital right now without getting a CAT scan, I could die and it could be preventable. And that the most comfortable case scenario is I get this CAT scan. So after much debate and me not being happy about it, but understanding where they're coming from, I agreed to get the CAT scan. And that was very emotional for me for 2 reasons. One is, as I've talked about before, I had a miscarriage, and anything to do with your baby just freaks you out so much after that, for me personally at least. And so I was so scared for my baby. But the reality of death in that moment was so real for me, because I went to look at the paperwork, and I kind of had a breakdown here to sign, that I can get the blood, that I can get the CAT scan. And this paper I'm signing essentially says that I know that there's risk to the baby, but that if I don't get the CAT scan, that I have the possibility of a pulmonary embolism. And I'm looking at this paper, and I'm seeing risk to my baby, and then I'm also seeing the wording written on my dad's death certificate. And I'm just sitting there like thinking about my baby right now, or the fact that I could leave Reveille without a mom. And I just had a breakdown, and it sounds all so dramatic right now, but in the moment it was just like overwhelmingly emotional. So I get the CAT scan, they have me all leaded with the sheets, you know, what is that called? The blood blankets over my belly and everything to keep the baby as safe as possible. And they do the CAT scan, and it wasn't a blood clot. My lungs and everything, my arteries were fine. Not my lungs, but my arteries and everything were fine. It wasn't a blood clot. And, you know, they had ruled out heart attack already. So, long story short, I had pleurisy, which is basically when you're sick and some liquid settles in your lungs and then it irritates your lungs and your tissue gets swollen and just irritated, if I remember correctly. And it sucks. It was very, very painful. I couldn't breathe. I was in so much pain. And it replicates the symptoms of a blood clot. And thankfully, thank God it wasn't a blood clot. And all I needed was really rest. But it lasted for weeks. I literally just felt like I couldn't breathe. And I couldn't catch my breath even when sitting. And it didn't matter what way I was sitting or laying, I was just in so much pain. But thankfully, the ER visit turned out to be not a big deal, because I know for many women, it is a big deal. You know, blood clots is one of the biggest things pregnant women die from, because your risk increases so much during pregnancy and it goes unnoticed, and it's a really, really scary reality. And I am so unbelievably lucky that it wasn't a blood clot, but it was a huge scare for me, for sure. And like I said, now I just feel like it was this huge dramatic thing for no reason. And of course, now knowing it wasn't a blood clot, the whole CAT scan is in my mind as, did I make the right decision for the baby, you know? But I don't regret it, because I would rather know I'm okay than not know and have something be wrong and leave Rebby without a mom. That's just my decision though. That was my ER visit. Thankfully I'm fine, baby's fine. I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.